Can y'all hear me? Oh, my. I think we're going to back up from this microphone. That picked up well. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for braving the elements and coming out to hear our information session about the CHOOSE Act. Mr. Calendar, you're good to go up there. Mr. Sims, you good on recording? We're all good to go. Thank y'all for coming. I'm David Long, the head of school here. We've got some folks from outside the school here to hear a little bit more about the CHOOSE Act. We've also had some folks travel long distances as well, but our special guests tonight are Arlene Alexander and Megan Barrett of the Alabama Department of Revenue, and they'll be up here in just a moment to talk a little bit more about the CHOOSE Act. But also with us tonight, I want to recognize in the room Larry Cornelius and Sharon Miller from our friend at Trinity Christian School in down there in God's country called Auburn, Opelika area, War Eagle. But Larry's become a good friend of mine over the years, and Sharon too. They do a great job with their school at Trinity down there in Opelika. So they've come to hear tonight's presentation as well. So if you have any questions related to head of school, kind of related questions, direct those to Larry. He will be glad to answer those for you. He's been doing it longer than I have. Hey, my introductory comments tonight are going to be brief because I've seen the presentation that Arlene and Megan are going to present to us tonight, and it's going to answer a lot of our questions. But also, we want to leave ample time for questions and answers. And on that note, let me just make a note about tonight. Tonight's format, as you can see, we're trying to make it informal. We have two microphones, one up here near Megan, one up here by me. We're going to ask, when we get to the Q&A section of tonight, please use the microphone. Just raise your hand. Megan or I will bring a microphone to you so everybody can hear. And also, for the recording, purpose of the recording, they can hear your question as well. So please use the microphone. So just to level set, we're here to talk about the CHOOSE Act. We've been sending out some information as we've been getting it over the last few months to talk a little bit about it. But in a nutshell, the best way I can explain it, it's a state program designed to allow you, the parent, to direct a portion of your tax dollars to the private school or to the home school of your choice. This is a long time coming. We were excited to hear this was passed this past March by Governor Ivey's signature. The program will commence this upcoming school year, the 25-26 school year, so this upcoming fall. And the first 2 years of the program, 25-26 and 26-27, eligibility will be limited to families under a certain adjusted gross income amount. And then those monies will be prioritized to special needs families and to students who are dependents of active duty personnel. And then finally, again, they will be prioritized based on income. And that's pretty much how it's going to work in 25-26 and also in 26-27. But in 27-28, the income restriction is going to be lifted, but the income is still going to be used to prioritize recipients. So far I'm good?
That's great.
Want to be good with the Department of Revenue, folks, always. Some other things to share. We as a school, we had to apply to be an approved education service provider. You're going to hear that term used again, ESP. I'm happy to say that last week we received our approval from the Department of Education. So, what did I say, Department of Education? I knew I was going to do it tonight. Alabama Department of Revenue, we got our approval. So we're good to go in the CHOOSE Act program. I also want to say on my behalf, but also on the behalf of the school board, and I know we've got members of the school board here with us, we have read through all the language of the CHOOSE Act, and at this moment, the way it's written, it gives us no pause, no areas of concern regarding, we feel like there's plenty of safeguards written into the language that's going to safeguard our admissions policies, the decisions we make regarding curriculum, or any decisions we might make about hiring. None of that seems to be compromised by anything by participating in the CHOOSE Act, so we feel very good about that. Dates. I'm sure these ladies are going to have this in their presentation, but I'll go ahead and give you a fair warning. January 2nd is when the application will open for the 25-26 year. And applications will run through April 7th, 2025. Beginning May 1st is when awards will be made and parents will be notified, and then the actual money will be settled into your Class Wallet account. And you're going to hear more about Class Wallet in just a second. But the money will actually be settled in your account sometime in July. Okay, so on that note, 25-26 tuition rates, we know we need to get those settled. We don't have those ready to announce just yet, but the board and I are working fast and furiously on 25-26 tuition. As soon as we get that settled, we will let you know. But here's the one thing you can know for sure. The maximum that you can get in CHUSAC funding is $7,000. I promise your tuition is going to be higher than $7,000. Seeing how it was this past year, it will certainly be higher that amount or more this for 25-26. But how all this is going to work regarding billing, payment plans, refund policy, really is yet to be finalized until we've had a chance to work through all this. And tonight's going to be a first great step for us to learn how that might impact some of our policies here, to how we might need to evolve and change with them. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Arlene Alexander and to Megan Barrett from the Department of Revenue. Sorry, I'm taking your presentation.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. And to our friends from Opelika, I grew up in Opelika, so graduate of Opelika High School and Bulldogs there, so great. Welcome. So again, my name is Arlene Alexander. I am the Government Relations Manager at the Department of Revenue. I've been there for 10 years. And prior to coming to the department, I was in business, so in the gasoline and convenience store business. So I am not an accountant. Megan is, and that's why I drag her around. No, so my coworker here is Megan Barrett. We both are the project managers for the CHUSAC. Megan has been with the department for 18 plus years and has a background in income tax and other various types of taxes. So she does have that accounting background. So we'll get started. The first slide, we'll talk about our agenda. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the program overview. I know David's mentioned some of it, but I'll just sort of reiterate some of those points. We're going to talk again about those amounts that you can receive as an ESA, who is eligible, and how we determine what eligibility is. We'll talk more about the family application as well as the ESP application that David mentioned. The approved expenses, what can you do if you're awarded the ESA? What can you do with that money? And then, as David mentioned again, the class wallet, digital wallet that you will receive if you are awarded these funds. And then what can you do now? David mentioned that the application opens on January 2nd, so this is November 19th. So what can I do now to get ready for that January date? And then how do you get support once you're into it? And then we'll go through that, and then we'll open it up to questions. We'll stay as long as you need us to and answer as many questions as we can tonight. So going to the program overview, again, the Creating Hope and Opportunity for Our Students Education Act of 2024, or CHOOSE, somebody was very clever in the legislature to come up with that, is administered by the Department of Revenue. A lot of people think it should be education, but the legislature and the governor, in their wisdom, asked the Department of Revenue to administer it, and probably because the CHOOSE Act Alabama, which is what we branded this as, okay? You'll hear CHOOSE Act Alabama a lot. It makes refundable income tax credits available in the form of an ESA or education savings account. So the fact that it's a refundable income tax credit is probably why it's in the Department of Revenue. And just a note on that, an income tax credit means that this will not affect your income. So if you're awarded in 25, 26, when you pay your income taxes for 25, this is not going to be on your income tax, okay? So that's good news for you. But it's available to support the success of every K through 12 student in Alabama. So an ESA, and I'm going to talk more about this, can be used to pay tuition. There's other fees that it can be used for, and other qualified expenses as approved by the department, which David mentioned before. We have contracted with a company called Class Wallet for programmatic support and to help us coordinate the distribution of these funds. Class Wallet has been doing this. If you followed anything about school choice around the country, other states have been doing this. You know, maybe it's a good thing we're not the first state, because we can, see what to do right and wrong. But Class Wallet has been the vendor that has been used for a lot of these states, and so we chose them to help us with this. So the annual amounts, the next slide. What can we get? We can get $7,000 for a participating student who is enrolled in a participating school. Participating is the key word, obviously, there. So a participating student who is enrolled in a participating school. And as David mentioned, Evangel has already applied and they have been approved, so they are a participating school. And it has to be a participating school that you are going to be enrolled in. Or you can get $2,000 per participating student who's enrolled in a home education program. This can be an individual or group program, it can be a church school, it can be a homeschool, a co-op, and so forth, but that amount is capped at $4,000 per family. So regardless of how many students you have that are in school, if you will, in homeschool, it is capped at $4,000. If you have 5 children and they are all awarded that $7,000, then there is no cap. Then it's $35,000 that you get. The total award amount that the legislature provided for this is $100 million for the 25-26 school year. So bear that in mind. And then as David mentioned earlier, the funds will be distributed through a class wallet, digital wallet, beginning in July of 2025. Okay, the eligibility, the next slide. So there are 2 things that you have to be right now to be eligible to receive these funds. The first one is you have to be a resident of Alabama, okay? This program is for K through 12, and understand K is a child who is at least 5 years old, okay? I know some schools have K3, K4 programs, but that child has to be 5 years old by September 1st of 2025. So that's the first thing, to be a resident of Alabama. The second is to have a household income that does not exceed that 300% of poverty level for the prior tax year. So these are posted. This is I think the Labor Department or somebody posts these on their website. These might be adjusted every year with inflation. We've seen these rise every year, but so right now for the 25-26 school year, we're basing it on the 23-24 tax year with these numbers that you might be able to see. I don't know, it's probably pretty small. But so for a family of 4, it means $93,600. Now, just to clarify, that's who's in your household, okay? Regardless of whether they're in school yet. So if you have 3 toddlers running around that are, under the age of 4, and then you've got 3 kids that are in the school, and then you have parents, then now you're a family of 8. Okay, so it doesn't pertain to just who's going to be in the school. It's whoever's in your household. Okay, so once you've met those 2 requirements, there's priorities that we apply to those. The first is special needs students. The legislature wrote in the bill that the first 500 ESAs will be set aside for students with special needs. So 500 for sure are going to get put to the side for students with special needs. Now, of course, they have to meet those other 2 requirements that we just mentioned, right? They have to be a resident of Alabama and they have to be within that 300% of the poverty level. So what is a special needs student? They have to be, they qualify for services under the Individual with Disabilities Education Act of 1975 or Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. So if you have a student that has special needs and they fall into those services, then all you would have to do is provide, when you apply, you would have to show documentation. It's going to ask you, do you have a student with special needs? And you would check yes. So when you check yes, and all of a sudden, you could potentially be in that 500. You would have to provide a 504 plan, an IEP, or something called, it's an ISP, which we understand is used more in private school things. Okay, so after that, then priority is given to participating students and their siblings. So if you have a special needs student that is in the program and you've got 3 other children who don't have special needs, your children, because they're siblings, will automatically be in that program, okay? And then also students who are dependents of active military members who are enrolled in a priority school. I'm not familiar with the schools in Shelby County, how many are priority, but a priority school is sometimes called a failing school. It's determined by the Department of Education, the State Department of Education. You'll hear about it usually about November, December time period. They'll make a list of the school report cards, and they'll list all the failing schools. We're from Montgomery, and there are quite a few schools, unfortunately, public schools in that area that are failing schools. So now the important part is you're a military member, you are well below that 300% of poverty level, but you're not at a priority school. So does that mean I'm not eligible? That does not mean you're not eligible. All this does, these priorities that we listed, just put you in a certain place in that tier for awarding, okay? So if you do still meet these other things, you should still apply. Okay, so now the family application. So how does that work? Has anybody here heard of FACS? Is that a familiar term? Okay, great, excellent, excellent. So the application process is being managed by this company, FACS. And families will be able to start applying online on January 2nd at, I think, 7 a.m. in the morning. So you can mark your calendar, but if you oversleep that day, don't panic, okay? So the application is going to remain open until April 7th. And then as David mentioned, the awards will be, notifications will be sent to families beginning in May. So if you apply on January 2nd, or if you don't apply on January 2nd, and for whatever reason you don't apply till April 1st, is that going to hurt your chances? It does not hurt your chances because these are not awarded on a first come, first served basis. So between January 2nd and April 7th, and when we close that application process, we will review all of the applications we have received and put them in that order. As David mentioned, that, you know, that 300% of poverty level is also going to be awarded based on a percentage of that, okay? So, for instance, so if you're a family of 4 with an AGI, remember, does everybody know what an AGI is? It's adjusted gross income, okay? It's not what your annual income is. It's what your adjusted gross income is, and this is when I look to my income tax expert here, after deductions are taken off, right? So it's that, I think it's line 14 or something on your tax return. Yeah, so that's the number that you're looking at, okay? So if you have an adjusted gross income of $70,000 and you have a family of 4 with an adjusted gross income of $80,000, then the family that has the $70,000 AGI will get awarded prior to the one with the $80,000, okay? But it doesn't mean you should not apply still if you know your neighbor makes less and you're like, oh, I'll never get it, but you should. When you fill out the application, you'll be able to tell us what school you want to go to. There's going to be a list of participating schools on the website, and maybe there's 3 different schools you're thinking about. You can list those schools, but if you are actually awarded the money, at that point, you have to tell us which school you're going to enroll in, okay? So back in May, right, you would have to tell us, or I guess in July, actually, when the money is awarded.
So once you're awarded in May, you have until, we won't put the money in until July. We won't put the money in if we don't know what school you're enrolled in.
Right. So what Megan just said is, if once you're notified in May that you are receiving the award, you won't get it into your account until July, because we're going to set up an account and we're going to tell you how to use it and everything. But at that point, before that money goes into your account, you have to tell us, I'm going to Evangel Classical Christian. Thank you. So, okay? All right, so the next slide for family application. What do you need when you apply? So everybody, all you moms and dads, go out there and find those birth certificates. You'll need that birth certificate, okay, of your children. So if you've stacked them, put them away somewhere and you can't find them, I think you can always get birth certificates, copies of them through somebody. So get those birth certificates. You'll need proof of Alabama residency. If you remember, that's one of the requirements is you have to be an Alabama resident. So we need you to show us and prove to us some way, somehow, that you are in fact an Alabama resident. How do you do that? You can send us a copy of your tax return. You can, and you're going to submit this when you do the application. You can show us your driver's license. You can get any kind of state issue ID. You can a utility bill, voter's registration card, and things like that. So there's lots of ways of proving your residency status. Now, do we have any military people here? Maybe who are not from Alabama? So in Montgomery, we get a lot of military families to come, right? They're not residents of Alabama. They're from Colorado, and I always say Colorado because there's a big Air Force base out there too. But they come here, they're not residents of Alabama, but all they have to do is show us proof, their orders, saying that they're gonna be assigned to, to Montgomery, Alabama, at Maxwell Air Force Base or the Air War College or something for 2 years. We just need to see that they are there, through their orders. Okay, that second requirement was that income, right? So now we need proof of your income. You can do that in a variety of ways. You don't have to send every one of these documents that you see. You just have to show us one of these documents. It can be the most recent tax return, okay? So on January 2nd, if you file, how many of you file your taxes the first day of January? Probably nobody, right? If you're like me, you wait till April 14th, in the middle of the night. Maybe even April 15th. But so you won't have your 25 tax return. So you just give us the most recent tax return that you have, 24, yeah. You won't have your 25 tax return because your 24, sorry. But so you send us your 23 tax return. Okay, so say in 23 you were making, I don't know, $80,000, right, was your AGI. Something happened, catastrophic, and so in 24, somebody lost their job, okay? So now you're only making 60 AGI, right? So now you're in a better place. All you need to do is give us that information later, okay? And so we'll have it. And there's gonna be ways when you make that application, you can send us that information, okay? But when you initially apply, you should send us some proof of your income. Now, there are people who don't have to file a tax return for whatever reason. So what can they do? They can show us a benefit statement. They can show, like, if they have Social Security, if they have TANF, or they have SNAP benefits or something like that. They can show us various documents that give us an indication of where they might fit in that AGI. And it won't be AGI, obviously, but for that federal poverty level. Okay, so the next slide for the education service provider application. I'll go through this very quickly, and only because it really doesn't apply to you, but just so you know. So if you know schools that you're thinking about, and I'm sure everybody here is thinking about Evangel Classical Christian, but if you had another school and they're not a participating school and you think, oh, they should become a participating school. Or maybe you know somebody who's a great tutor and you want, hey, they'd be a great tutor for my child, and I want to use these funds, but they have to be an ESP as well. Everybody has to be approved. So there is a place on the Choose Act website that they can go to. And as I mentioned, everybody has to be approved by the department. And there's certain guidelines that they have to attest to, that we will do this and we will do this. So as I think I mentioned earlier too, all the schools will be on the website when it comes time for you, all the ones that we have at that moment. ESPs can continually be added. So we will constantly update our ESP list. And it's just not the schools, obviously, it's people that provide services. So it could be a therapist, it could be a tutor, it could be somebody who has a certain curriculum that you like, that you can purchase, that if it's approved by us, you can use your funds for that. And again, the chooseact.alabama.gov website is where everybody goes to apply, and that's where the ESPs go to apply. Okay, next. What are these approved expenses talking about? So they include tuition, of course, and then certain fees at participating schools. It could be textbooks, it can be fees for after school or summer education programs that are provided by that participating school. They can be curriculum, supplemental reading materials, private tutoring, as I mentioned, computers, technological aids, all sorts of things that we will have listed on our website. So if somebody who's going to be a senior and they have to take the ACT and you want to do some prep, right? You want to have them do a study course so they can do really well on their ACT. You can that's an approved expense. So these expenses are all listed there because you as the parent, right, get to choose how, if you're awarded the $7,000 for your student, you get to determine how you're going to spend that money, okay? You don't have to spend it all for tuition if you don't want. It's up to you. It's up to you. It's up to you. We can't emphasize that enough. If you want to use half of it for tuition, but you want to use some of it for a computer, or you want to use it for some tutoring, or maybe your child needs some therapy or something, it's up to you, okay? That's very, very important. So when you get these funds, how do you get them? Am I sending you a $7,000 check in the mail? I don't think so, right? I'm sorry, the next one to classical. Okay, he's there. Okay, good. So the digital wallet that we keep talking about. So what is this digital wallet? It is it's a wallet, it's digital, but it's there, it's an account that it will be set up for each of your students that are awarded the funds. Okay, so you have 2 kids that are in school, and one that you're homeschooling, right? And all of them are awarded something. So now you have 7,000 and 7,000 is 14,000, and then 2,000 is 16,000. I told you I wasn't an accountant. So you have 16,000. Is it all in one big lump sum? No. You're going to have it for each of your students. And you cannot borrow from one to pay for the other. Okay, that's very important as well. But so you'll have an independent account for each of your children, and that when it's time for you to purchase something, there's a process by which you are going to use that money, and how you submit invoices and everything. So if you are awarded, that this money, as we mentioned, will be put into your account in July. Now, I know some people have said, well, my school wants me to pay for the tuition in June. Okay, we cannot tell the school what to do. That's really between you and the school. So if you know in May that you're going to be awarded an amount, and then you could go to the school and say, look, I'm going to have this in July. And then, but again, you're responsible for that money and that tuition, however you spend that ESA. So again, how can you use your funds when you get it? There are 2 ways you can use it. We have a marketplace, and we're going to talk about that. And then you can do an ESP through direct pay. So if you come here to Evangel Classical Christian, that would be done through direct pay. And there are certain things that the school will have to do and provide to you so you can submit an invoice. And we're on that direct pay, right? Okay, so to pay for that service, they have to include certain information. And I don't know if you can read it. It's hard for me to read. But and the school will know this, right? But they've got to provide your name. They've got to provide the student's name. Because remember, every student has their own account. The parent's name, the date of the invoice, the date of the service, and that's very important. We had that question earlier about what if they bill me first, but I don't get the service? They can't do that. They have to render the service before they bill you. And what type of service? What is it? Because we've got to make sure that is part of that approved expense. And then how much is due. Handwritten documentation is not allowed. So if you're an ESP and you have some sort of business and you want to be part of this program, and you just write out on a piece of paper, we cannot accept those. It will have to be something that's more electronic or something. As I mentioned, the payment for services can be made prior to the service or paid after services have been rendered. However, only invoices for services provided during that school year will be approved. So the school year runs from July, right, Megan, to June. So July of 25 through June. Okay, you're not getting your money till July anyway. But so that's your school year that we're going to refer to. So if you have a summer program and you still have some money and it starts in June, you can use it for that. Okay, but it has to be within your academic year. If you don't use that money within that academic year, it comes back to us. Okay, you don't get to roll over to the next year. Okay, so let's talk about the marketplace, the other place that you can spend your money. So we are in the process of creating a marketplace, an e-commerce. It's going to be just that. You're going to go to our website and you're going to find it on there, and it's going to have all sorts of products and services that are available through e-commerce. So we work with different companies like Staples and Amazon, and we'll have a list of all these different products, and you can search for it when you get in there. Say you need a graphing calculator, you can search for graphing calculators, and you can see different types and whatnot, and they will be available. And then you can order them, and you don't ever send us money or anything. That just goes right out of your account from your account to that vendor. If you should go and buy something, say you need a certain kind of, I don't know, color, a crayon or something. That's pretty juvenile, but it's not on the marketplace. Now, can you run down to Target and buy that, and then give us a call and say, hey, I just spent $10 on these crayons? Unfortunately, you cannot. You have to use your digital wallet on the products that we have approved that are in our marketplace. Does that prevent you from still buying that one if you want to? You can certainly buy that. It's just you're going to pay for it. So what if you have $100 left and you're on the marketplace and there's a device that you need, but you only have $100 left in your account, right? But it's the product that you need, whatever the device is. You might need something, a computer kind of gadget. Can you still buy that? Yes. You can buy it and apply $100 of your account on that, and then there's going to be a format by which you can pay with a credit card for the remainder amount. Okay, so the marketplace is pretty flexible. Okay, so all of that to say, what can you do right now? So has anybody looked at chooseact.alabama.gov? Has anybody been to the site? Good, and I hope everybody will rush home tonight and do it. The good thing about this, and I should have mentioned this when I talked about the application, is you can do it on a laptop computer or a desktop computer, or it's mobile friendly. You can do it all on your mobile phone. When you do your application as a family, when you do your family application, if you get into it and there's a lot of information you haven't figured out yet, you can close it out, because it's going to force you to set up an account at the very start. It's going to make you put in, come up with a password and a special username and whatnot. So you could go back days later and get back into it. Unfortunately, for the ESPs, they had to do it all at the same time. They couldn't stop and start again. So, but for you as a family, yeah, and David did, because I think I might have told him wrong. But we're all learning here, everybody. We're all learning. But it was something you can get in and get out of, okay, and then go back into it. So that's a good thing. So now, do you qualify? Maybe you want to find out if you qualify. So right now, and I think it's up there, when you go to our home page, you're going to see a box right there that looks in that color. And it says, check to see if your family qualifies, and you can subscribe now for family updates. So I urge everybody to go home tonight, put the kids to bed, and then pull that up and go on and do it. What if you know you don't qualify, okay? Should you do it anyway? Yes, yes, yes. I can't emphasize that enough, because 100 million is what we've been allotted to do this. The legislature is going to be very interested in knowing how this program is going. They're going to be calling me and Megan and Cameron Clark, who is our director, and saying, how's it going, how's it going? And we want to be able to say, we've already run out of money. If we awarded everybody today and we still have 2 months on the application, we want to be able to tell them that. Because there is an avenue for the department to go to them and say, hey, we need more money. So that's a possibility. I can't swear by it, but there's an avenue to do so. And plus, we want this to come back next year, and the next year, and the next year, right? So we need to show the legislature that there is interest. So I would encourage you, even if you know you don't think you're going to make that federal poverty level requirement, go on and fill this out. And we were doing a presentation down at Prattville Christian Academy a couple weeks ago, and a senator was there who was a big advocate in that getting this passed. He wants you to apply anyway and be rejected. And so we're just like, but don't be upset if you get that rejection letter. because he wants to know. He wants to know how many people are really interested in it. So I'm going to give you that advice, and it came from Senator Chambliss. So if anybody asks, it's from Senator Chambliss. There's also a parent guide on there right now you can look at, and it's going to talk a lot about the stuff we talked about all of the digital wallet and how to file for, those expenses and submit those expenses and everything. We're in the process of developing FAQ. So all the questions we get from places like this, or when we do these webinars online, we're developing FAQ. So you might have a question, you might go there first and see if there's an answer already set there. There are webinars that we are currently doing. I think we've got several more this year. We have them for ESPs as well as families. If you're not an ESP, you won't be, it just won't mean a whole lot to you. If you're a family, you should get on the family webinar. It's probably going to be a lot of what I just said, but maybe you'll have another question, and it gives you an opportunity to ask questions at that point too. If you're an ESP, you might be interested in listening to the family webinar, because you might get, especially if you're a school, you're probably going to get a lot of family members asking you, well, what about this? What about this? So, but if they can't answer the question, the next one is how to get support. Class Wallet, again, is the vendor that we're using to do this. They have an 800 number, and you can see it there. They have, and this is all on the website too, okay? So don't feel like you have to write everything down. They have a helpline, email address that you can submit any kind of question, and they will, if they can't answer it, they send it to Megan and me, and we get the answers back to you. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., right? So if you work all day and you've got a question, you still have time in the evening to send that in. If you email it, they'll probably get back to you the next day if it's after 7. And Saturday from 9 to 3. It's available in both English and Spanish. Okay. Again, the program website is chusac.alabama.gov. I highly recommend that you go there, check it out. There's a lot of information. We are constantly updating it too. As I mentioned, we're going to have all those approved ESPs on there for you to look at. So those will be available. So, bookmark it and go back as frequently as you need to get your questions answered. Okay, all right. So that's my presentation, and we are ready to answer any questions. If you have a question, I guess raise your hand, or did I do such a great job there are no questions? And I should add, if you have a question that you don't feel comfortable asking, and that's fine. We don't judge, right? And you want to just ask me or Megan, we can give you our card, and you can reach out to us later, or catch us in the parking lot, but not while it's raining. Yeah, we will. We'll stay as long as you need to. But we've had people who said, I just want to talk to you by myself, and that's fine. So anyway, yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that tax return is an option for residency and the income requirement. Can it be used for both?
Sure.
So one document can be used for both?
Yeah, you might have to, and we're still in the process of approving the application process because we still have a little time. In fact, Megan and I, one of our tasks today was supposed to go through a trial run of it, but it's probably going to ask you to submit it 2 separate times. It's going to ask you to download certain documents. And so, and you can take pictures of the documents, right? You don't have to, again, you can do a lot on your phone. You don't have to have a fax machine or a scan machine or anything like that.
And then one other.
Yes, ma'am.
Does the app allow everyone to complete the application, or will it stop you if your AGI is too high, or if you don't meet
it
one of the
will allow you to complete it all the way, right? Megan, or do you know, or do we know that answer?
We're still in the process of working that one out, because fax is thinking about a way of handling that situation. So right now we're still talking about it.
Yeah. So, but you can fill out as much as you can. Right now is how we think this is going to go. It might be a good reason to get on a family webinar closer to, I think there's several in December. Those are listed on the website, so pull it up and maybe you just register and maybe we'll have the answer by then. We probably will. So, anybody else? Questions?
Do the dependents have to be on your tax return?
The definition of dependents, but they do need to be on your tax return. If there's a special situation, then you can contact the Class Wallet Help Desk, and they'll get you over to one of us, probably to me, and then we can talk about that situation.
Trying to think best how to phrase this. Okay, if a person enrolls in a school, but then halfway through decides that the school isn't for them and they want to go to a different school, do they get a prorated amount back, or and what is the school responsible then for returning to the state?
Okay, so that's a great question, and David he asked me that question right before because he wants to make sure he understands. The agreement between you and the school is between you and the school. We don't tell the school how to set up their tuition policy. We're not going to step on that at all. We're going to award your child $7,000, and if you're going to a school and they have a policy that says if after day one you drop out and you decide to go somewhere else, and they don't have there may be a circumstance where you decide to go to Opelika, right? You're going to be moved to Opelika. You got a great job down in Opelika, and you want to go to Opelika. So, and David says here, okay, that's fine. Since you're being transferred, then we'll prorate you. It's up to you and the school. We don't get to tell you. So if his policy is day one, and then or you lose it all, then he keeps it all. But there are circumstances that he might have where if you get transferred, then what would happen, it would go back into that student's account, okay? And then you would use it somewhere else. And if you don't use it by the end of that academic year, it rolls back into our coffers, if you will.
I think one of the important things you pointed out to me was that the money never is, in that case, money never gets delivered back to the parent. It would only go back to their class wallet account, never back to the family.
Right, and I don't know if I mentioned this, I may have missed that. You made me think of reimbursements, right? If you purchase something that you did not want to purchase, can you get a reimbursement for it? No. You can, if it's through the marketplace, you can return things, right? If it's set up that way.
Yeah, so you can return it to the marketplace, and the marketplace will reimburse your wallet.
Yeah,
So the money goes back to your wallet.
It never comes to the parent.
And as far as the school goes, well, the payment of the school is your choice on how you do it as a parent. So if you paid at the beginning of the year the $7,000 to the school, and you decide to leave the day two, and the school decides not to give it back to you, we can't control that. But if you paid $100 this month and $100, I know that's not going to ever add up to the $7. If you paid $100 this month and $100 the next month, and you decide not to give the school the money, then that's between you and the school as well, because we don't control that. But the school probably won't agree with that, so you have to see. So
Yes,
we are just a purse. We're just holding your money to put it to where you want it to go. Yes, ma'am.
So every child that is approved gets 7,000 despite, regardless of the family's AGI, or does the amount vary?
No, for the first 2 years, the AGI is important, right? So the first 2 years, you have to meet those two requirements. You have to be a resident of Alabama, and you have to have an income. Your AGI has to be within that 300% of the poverty level. And I don't know if you were here earlier, if you saw there's a chart. You can go to the website and you can see it more clearly. So if you meet those two requirements and you have 5 children, and all 5 of your children can be awarded that $7,000. If you're enrolled at a participating school, that's the other thing. You have to be enrolled at a participating school.
So you get $7,000 if you go to a participating school. If you go to a home school program or homeschool education, it's $2,000.
Okay,
So
and-
that's the difference. It's $7,000 if you go to a participating school, and $2,000 per student if you go to.
Yeah, and I think that I understand what she's asking. Yes, you get all $7,000 at once. Okay, so it's not going to come into your account over You get all 7,000 on day one, or in July, when it's awarded. So,
You always get some.
correct, you get all of it. So if you meet those requirements and you are awarded the amount, then you get the whole amount, okay? The percentage of that AGI is gonna be how we determine who gets the award. So if you make less AGI, if your AGI or is less in the lower part of that 300% than somebody else, then you're probably going to get awarded over that person. But you get the entire amount. You'll either get the 7,000 per student, and those students have to be K-5 through 12, right? Unless they're special needs, and then they can be, I think it's 21 they can be as old as 21. Okay, does that answer it, ma'am? Okay, good.
After the second year where it's opened up without regard to AGI, let's say the legislature appropriates $300 million, but there's $600 million worth of students seeking that. Have rules been established yet for how that money will be distributed to those that are making above over the AGI limit?
It will continue to be a percentage of the AGI. So even when it's opened up to everybody, we're not going to say 300% of, right? But somebody who makes, if you make 150 is your AGI, but somebody else is 200 AGI, you both should apply, but that 150 AGI is going to probably receive it. It's still going to be in that order. The intent of the legislature was to give this to the people that need it the most. Okay, and then, and as I mentioned, the first 2 years is the limited amount, and then we open it up. There's something else you made me think of, but it'll come to me. Anybody else?
This is more out of curiosity. How many participating schools are there currently that have been approved?
We don't know the answer. We should know that. We're going to have to put that in our little thing. We've had, I think we've gotten about 160 applications. Now, they're not all schools, right? They could be therapists, they could be, tutors, they could be people that sell curriculum and stuff like that want to be approved. I don't know how many of those have been approved. When we get an ESP application, we try to get it, we try to let that company or that school know within 2 weeks whether or not they've been approved. But by the time we'll probably be posting some of that on the website, probably, I would say, within a month.
Going off of that, then, so to be the ESP, you aren't necessarily a school, you're also like a therapist or
Correct.
curriculum program or something
Correct. Yeah,
separate.
So when you go to the ESP application, there's a pull down because it says what type of service do you provide, and the first one is like a K through 12 private school, a K through 12 online school, and then it has various, sundry things. It says private tutor or therapist and various things, and so you select what you are. And then based on what you select, there's additional questions and documentation you have to provide. So for a school to be, if you know schools, they have to be accredited, okay? They also have to charge a tuition. Now people say, well, can't a public school be? A public school could be a participating school if they charge tuition.
Any other questions?
I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has given you at least some, more interest in it, and you can go to the website. There's, like I said, there's a lot of good information. We're available at the Department of Revenue. Do not call the Department of Education.
I'm sorry.
And I only say that because people are calling the Department of Education, and they're sending it to us, which we're grateful for. But I hate, and I was in business for a bazillion years. I used to hate calling government because you felt you got the runaround. So I hate when somebody gets passed from one person to one person. We want you to get the answer. And that's why that class wallet is probably the best place to start. Because if they can't answer it, and we have just like loaded them with lots of information, and they've done this, right, they're familiar with these type of programs, they will get to me or Megan or Cameron, and we will get an answer back to you. So start with that class wallet.
Teachers here that may tutor
Oh,
after school.
yes.
Can you speak, or you or me can speak to that and how they might get approved as an education service provider as a tutor?
Yes, if they want to be a private tutor outside of the school, they can certainly go through that ESP program. If they're a tutor within the school and the school is participating, do they have to do that?
They don't have
If they're going to
to.
get paid, if they're going to
They-
get paid though.
If you're willing to allow them to come up under your umbrella, then they can submit that invoice to you and you can submit it up to us and we'll pay you guys and then you can pay them. That is an option. The other option is that they can set up their own ESP because they are, because they have all the requirements to be a private tutor and because their students are going to the participating school, they can use that money as well.
I'm looking at Christy Blackwell. Did you hear all that? I'm sorry.
Let me qualify.
Sorry, Christy, she's taken. If some of our teachers are tutoring, if we allow them to fall under our school umbrella as a that they could possibly, y'all could pay us. Is that what I heard?
It just needs, yes,
And
it
then
just needs to be invoiced.
Invoice, we could invoice on behalf of those tutors. We get paid, then we could pass it on to the teacher.
Now, I will say something. If you want to be a private tutor or a private therapist and you have children that are in the program, okay, and you cannot, as an ESP, you cannot tutor your own child and take money out of your child's account to pay yourself, okay? Does that make sense? Yeah, yeah. So
That seems right.
I know.
That sounds right.
It seems
Feels right.
But yeah, so that's the exception. If you're a therapist or a tutor and you have, and you tutor other kids too, but you want to tutor your child and you say, okay, I'm going to charge you $50 an hour for this. So you better listen up.
That's called doing homework.
You cannot do that, right? So that's the exception to that.
Anything else? Going once? Twice? Let's thank Arlene and Megan for being here tonight.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Any final comments from you two ladies?
No, I would just, get on the website, look at it, and give us feedback, okay? If you see something that we don't have there and you have questions about it, or you said, this would really be helpful if you guys could do this, please let us know. Or maybe when we put the marketplace out there and there's items on there that you think your kids need, let us know. We are very interested in. This is new for us. This is our first year going out. We're very anxious to make it, we're very interested in making it work right, but we know we might have some hiccups. So bear with us, but we will be happy to listen to your thoughts and feedback and maybe make it even better. Yes, ma'am.
That just made me think, would uniforms?
No, uniforms are not approved expense, okay? Yeah, the expenses, and when you go onto the website, you'll see what they are. They're going to be things that are specifically related to the child's education, okay? So, and uniforms, we don't consider to be directly related to the child's education. Anything else, Megan, that you can think of? Yeah, it is a good question. Anything else? Right. Well, we appreciate y'all for being here, and go to that website and go on and fill out that qualifier
That you said go to the website. When I was growing up, I was taught each one teach one. I'm going to say each one tell one. So if you know somebody who has children, please tell them about it. If you know some ESPs, some providers that provide tutoring or therapy, please tell them about it. Direct them to the website. The website will give them everything they need, and it's a real easy website to go to.
Yeah, help us spread the word. We're in the process of putting some marketing materials out so we can get them out to, this program is for everybody in the state of Alabama. It's for everybody in the state of Alabama. And we want to make sure we reach the far ends of the state of Alabama, and let as many people participate as possible. So, and again, the more participation and the legislature sees that, the more likely is that we will, they will put more money into the program.
And tell your legislators that you love this.
Yes, yes, everybody right there, contact them. All right.
Folks, let me pray for us, and then we'll be dismissed. Our Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening. Thank you for Arlene, and thank you for Megan, and for them traveling here tonight to share this great information with us, Lord. We just pray that this Choose Act be an instrument to further the work that schools like ours are doing to bring people to know you and to love you and to grow with you. Lord, we just pray for safe travels for those who've traveled some distance to be here tonight. Lord, we just thank you for your many, many blessings, those that we acknowledge and those we take for granted. Be with us this Thanksgiving holiday season. Let's be mindful of all those that are around us, our friends and family, and enjoy that time together. Lord, be with us now as we go about to do your business. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.